Let's return to the Clutha-Southland MP Todd Barclay, who's apologised for what he says were misleading statements. Presumably they were misleading statements this morning. The National MP statements this morning put him at odds with the Prime Minister, Bill English. This morning he denied recording his staff or speaking to Bill English about it, but this afternoon Mr English released a statement he made to the police last year in which he says Mr Barclay told him he had recordings of an electorate staff member criticising him. A newsroom revealed he'd also said something similar in a text to Stuart Davey. A dictaphone, I think, was mentioned from memory in that text. Our political editor, Jane Patterson, joins us now live from Parliament. Jane, are you there?
I am, John. Hello.
Yeah. Oh, there you are. I've got you loud and clear with the echo, which suggests you are in the corridors of power. What did you make of Todd Barclay having a media stand-up, reading a statement, and then departing? Is that going to stop the conjecture about his future, stop the discussion, stop the criticism? Is that going to be the end of it?
No, John, it's not, and in fact I think it raises more questions. So there's been quite a flurry here in the last 15 to 20 minutes, a media conference in Parliament at very short notice. Mr Barclay came out and read a statement just saying that he had read Bill English's statement to the police and that he accepted that statement. Now Mr English told the police last year that he had a conversation with Todd Barclay regarding Glenys Dixon leaving his office, and he told Mr English that he had recordings of her criticising him and that those comments were made in a face-to-face conversation between Bill English and between Todd Barclay. Now you just mentioned that Mr Barclay told media this morning that he had not made those statements. He has come out, he said that they were unwise, he could have handled it differently, and that no doubt in a stressful situation that he was dealing with, he would have talked to Mr English. But that still really raises the question of, is he now saying he made the recording, which if it is as described, there are potential legal action or there are potential legal issues around that. And of course the police investigated this. They requested an interview with Todd Barclay on legal advice. He declined to talk to police and they closed the investigation down for a lack of sufficient evidence to charge him. But I don't think this puts it to rest at all.
No. So Mr Barclay fronted the media this morning and said, I did not. And now he's saying Mr English is right. Well, Mr English said he did. And so where to from here? What happens next? It was a bizarre kind of non-management of the situation, wasn't it?
It was, and to be honest, the reporters that were called to this media conference did actually expect him to come out and say he was going to resign, but he is not. He is digging his heels in. But this leaves open a couple of avenues. The police have put out a statement saying that if there is other evidence, if there's new evidence relating to this case that casts any light on whether there was a secret recording, that Mr Barclay had any role in recording Ms Dixon at the electorate office, then they want to know about it. And also newsroom reporting. Late this afternoon we have not been able to confirm this with electorate staff in Clutha-Southland, but that his selection is being investigated. He was reselected earlier this year to contest the election. As I said, we haven't confirmed that, but that is another report. If that is the case, that is going to cause another issue for Mr Barclay. He is using his reselection as a sign of support from that electorate, as a reason to stay on. If that's no longer the case, that does make him more vulnerable.
Where does this leave Bill English? He's Todd Barclay's boss. He's the former MP in that electorate. He worked very closely and very successfully with Glenys Dixon, who is highly regarded in the Clutha-Southland region. He seems to have sent a text. He seems to have given a statement saying that he knew about these recordings. How is he going to deal with all of this?
Well, interestingly, the political attacks are starting to fire up from the opposition, from New Zealand First and from Labour. While they mention Todd Barclay and his political career, they are focused on Bill English and how he has handled this. Now, also to note, last year when all this came up, RNZ News did cover this story. The text exchanges between Bill English and the former electorate chairman, Stuart Davey, happened in February, and that's when they discussed the potential, or that they discussed this recording and the fact also, another element of the story, that there had been a confidentiality settlement partly funded by money from the Leaders Fund. Now the next month I talked to Mr English and I asked him what was going on, whether he had any concerns. He said he wasn't aware of any specific problems. He said he wasn't concerned that this was basically just a change. So really this new information throws big questions about the communications that were going on between senior national figures. That includes the former Prime Minister John Key, who was also asked about this on Radio New Zealand and downplayed it and certainly made no mention of that confidentiality settlement. So scrutiny not just on Todd Barclay but also on Mr English and his comments and actions over the past year or so.
Our political editor Jane Patterson joining us live from the corridors of Parliament. Thank you so much, Jane. We really appreciate it. As we said earlier in the program, we've asked Todd Barclay, we've asked Bill English, we've asked the National Party President onto the program, and none of them were available this evening.